All right, reach out. We'll do Horns at Half Past coming up, but just reach out and check on any Texas fans you may have in your life. Safe to say the past month has aged them likely 10 years or so because Steve Sarkisian's cardiac Longhorns, whether there's enough blood pressure medicine in the 5-1-2 to take care of it, they delivered a thorough beatdown of 9th-ranked Vanderbilt for 3 quarters and then once again found themselves involved in one of the more dramatic finishes of the college football Saturday. But once again, they survived. They survived a furious Diego Pavia-led, horrible officiating-led 21-0 fourth-quarter rally. But thanks to a fortunate bounce on an onside kick attempt that found its way out of bounds, Sark and the Longhorns improved to 7-2, 4-1 in SEC play. And we're talking about the SEC, Noah, a conference that features 7 of the top 15 teams in the country, 4 of the top 7 in the AP right now. And they are the only team, Texas, who has beaten 2 top 10 teams this year when those teams were ranked in the top 10. They own 2 wins over top 10 teams, Oklahoma and now Vanderbilt. Their latest win keeps them alive in the college football playoff rankings and hopes. The first rankings will be out tomorrow night.
Yep, big one.
On a day, Tuesday, very busy. Tomorrow's election day.
It is.
Tomorrow's the final day of the NFL's trade deadline to make a trade in the NFL. Eagles have made a trade, apparently, acquiring a pass rusher from the Miami Dolphins this morning, Jalen Phillips. So Howie Roseman doing his work already. We'll see if there are trades done. And, of course, the college football playoff rankings will be announced for the first time tomorrow night. Not the AP or the coaches. This is the committee rankings after 2 months of football. But we'll do more on the latest heart attack-inducing finish coming up. Overtime wins against Kentucky and Mississippi State on the road. This one looked like it was going to be cruise control, and then we'll get to all
like it. Yeah.
And you were there.
I was there. Yeah, no, felt like it the whole time. They were playing great football. We'll get into the game, but yeah, I mean that was took a quick turn there at the end of the game. I mean, it really
flipped on the non-pass interference call on Emmett Mosley in the end zone. That's when Sark started to lose his mind.
Right, that felt just blatant. Like what? How is that not
so obvious?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
So obvious. The first thing was, did he catch it? Because they went to review it because he almost made a one-handed catch because he couldn't get his second hand on it because he was getting held by the defensive back who was beaten. And it should have been 41-16 at the time if there's a penalty there. But either way, we'll get to the Longhorns bottom of the hour. But let me just mention in the A block here, good, bad, and ugly Monday, some big picture college football thoughts, including the Longhorns' next opponent 12 days from now.
Oof.
The Georgia Bulldogs, let's be honest about Kirby Smart's Bulldogs in 2025. You got to give them credit like Texas. They find ways to win. But they are by no means unbeatable. Their latest come-from-behind win, 24-20 over 3-5 Florida at the cocktail party, puts them at 7-1. They're ranked in the top 5. But y'all, this is not the elite outfit we've grown accustomed to seeing under Kirby Smart. And the numbers back this up. Do you realize? So here's the deal. Look, Longhorns are growing up, finding ways to win. And I always say, my old radio partner, Bucky Godboll, used to call it green and growing. Are you green and growing or ripe and rotten? And that's how that came from a former coach he had. And I think I see Texas as green and growing.
Sure.
And I see Georgia as possibly ripe and maybe rotten if they can get plucked. Because they had to rally to beat Auburn. They had to rally to beat Florida. They had to rally to beat Tennessee, who were down in the fourth quarter. So they lean into their championship DNA, and it's impossible to say they don't have it. They have it.
They definitely have it.
But they also have a defense that normally rocks your world. They rank 127th nationally in sacks right now.
Right.
Texas ranks first.
They're missing their pass rushers that they lost in the draft
They rank
last
133
year.
out of 136 FBF programs in tackles for loss, which seems unfathomable. But, Auburn let them off the hook. Florida let them off the hook. Tennessee let them off the hook, right? Those are some of the bottom teams in the conference, and Tennessee's middle of the pack just lost to Oklahoma. But I'm just saying, there's not Texas can beat everybody left on their schedule. They can. There were times this year I didn't know that or wouldn't be able to say that. But they can. They are capable with the team, with the offensive line is currently constructed, with the quarterback who's growing up, with both running backs back healthy, with the receivers healthy, and Ryan Wingo, I think, is going to be okay with that thumb.
Michael Taft, hopefully coming back by then.
Taft and Jelani McDonald in the back end, they're good enough.
Them.
And Georgia's not great, y'all. I know the uniforms, Athens, Hedges, but again, 127th in sacks. Texas is first in sacks with 34 sacks now. Texas has a chance to beat Georgia at Georgia. They got to go do it, but let's just not sit here for 2 weeks and say, that's not this indomitable force that they've been. They're beatable. can Texas be the team that beats them? Alabama did earlier this year.
Yeah, definitely not the same Georgia team we've seen in the 21-22 era where they were winning championships.
One of the
that
greatest
defense,
teams ever built.
even that defense last year, like you said, look at their pass rush. They're missing their 2 first-round picks that were there. Walker and those cats, they were just
Jalen Walker, Michael Thompson.
But I'll say this with Georgia.
And their secondary's not great either.
No,
by
it's
the way.
not.
There's no Kamari Lassiter. There's no Malachi Starks back there. I know they're winning. They're 7-1.
Right. That's the thing with this team is I've noticed, especially watching that Florida game, is it's close and Florida's playing really well actually. And then once they get in a situation though where they like the chaos, they play well in chaos.
There's no question. And
so if you can keep yourself out of chaos,
and Sark's team has some of that too, where they kind of thrive in that.
That's true.
It's frustrating.
That's true.
It's heart attack inducing, but at the same time, the Georgia didn't play a lot of these games, but now they have a championship DNA. There's no question about that.
Not the most talented team that they've had, obviously. That's truly apparent, but they do play well under pressure. That's kind of when Gunnar Stockton, that's when that offense steps up. That's when they're kind of psychotic, and let's go. Texas kind of has that too to them. There's some similarities,
but they are beatable.
They are.
Then there are 4 in college football. That would be undefeated teams in college in the college ranks. 2 more fall from the ranks. Ohio State and Indiana are still unbeaten in the weak Big Ten. BYU from the Big 12, they face a monster game at Texas Tech this Saturday.
Huge. Texas Tech, man.
And Texas A&M, the last of the 4 teams, they're coming off their bye week. On Saturday, Georgia Tech and Navy fell from the ranks. The Yellow Jackets got rolled by North Carolina State.
It felt like that was coming soon. They just had way too many close games.
Blake Gideon runs that defense, and typically they've been good this year. They gave up nearly 600 yards and 48 points at NC State.
Yeah.
Just had a rough game. Meanwhile, Navy, beginning that grueling gauntlet that we told you their final 4 games, they lost up in Denton, the Mean Green of North Texas, and Drew Mestemaker 31-17. So those teams are now no longer unbeaten. And then there were 8, though. There were 4 unbeatens. Now there's 8 coaching vacancies in the Power 4 because Auburn has handed out the pink slip parade continues on a Monday. Seems like every Sunday we've had a firing way back to, Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. But here we are. So Gus Malzahn. Hugh Freeze, who
Gus Malzahn. They wanted to fire him after he got 9-3 almost every year.
Hugh Freeze is out. His offense managed 3 points in a 10-3 loss to Kentucky on Saturday at home.
Yikes!
And that was it. They're 1-5 in the SEC, 4-5 overall. So he's out during the middle of his 3rd year.
I have one thing to say on that. Someone found out he was getting fired before he got fired because he has a standing tea time at the university at 1:30. His name was gone prior to the actual firing happening.
It's no longer covered by the university. Defensive coordinator DJ Durkin will take over there.
Oh, geez.
So on the interim. But now Auburn joins LSU, Florida, Arkansas as teams in the SEC in search of head coach. So in addition to the 8 in the Power 4, there are 4 in the SEC that are vacant. They'll be chasing the next coach. Penn State, UCLA, Oklahoma State, and Virginia Tech have also fired their coaches this year. And one coach that may have saved himself from that potential fate on Saturday was Brett Venables at Oklahoma. That might be music to Longhorn fans' ears. That Brett Venables not going to be gone.
Massive win.
But they went into Rocky Top. They showed that great defense. They intercepted Joey Aguilar 3 times. They sacked him 4, 8 tackles for loss, and that led them to a huge win, 33-27 in Rocky Top. They now, like Texas, get a much-deserved bye week. And think about the games a week from Saturday. There's a huge game, Texas Tech and BYU this weekend. The following Saturday, Texas at Georgia, Oklahoma, Bama. In the SEC, both a week from Saturday, will be huge. And the college football playoff rankings will be out tonight. And again, tomorrow night they'll be out on this start of the week. We got the Cowboys and the Cardinals tonight on Monday Night Football. Tomorrow night will be all the heavyweight stuff. But college football week. Not a ton of tremendous upsets, but Georgia Tech and Navy. Going down, Indiana and Penn State, and Indiana and Ohio State
SMU taking out Miami, too, as well. That was a big one in the ACC.
Huge win. They gave a new contract to Rhett Lashley last week up in Dallas, and they turned around and beat Miami. I've been saying the ACC is a one-bid league.
Yeah.
And they're lucky to get that.
Yeah, at this point.
The Big 12, I still think that they'll make a case for 2. And obviously this BYU Tech game will be huge. Tech going into Kansas State and walloping the Wildcats over the weekend was impressive. BYU's undefeated. That becomes a massive game.
He just might cannibalize himself. That's the thing.
I know.
They might have to play each other twice.
The ACC is not going to have a case for 2.
Now
that Miami's down to a 2-loss team, they're not going to have a case for 2.
Because who's their best wins, right? Yeah. And Miami already has 2 losses, like you mentioned, D.
And if the Big 12 cannibalizes itself, the SEC can make an argument for 6 spots at that point. I mean, I know people aren't going to like that, but if you're only one big Big 12 and one big ACC and one big group of 6, that's 3. Notre Dame's 4.
Looking like 3 for the Big 10.
3 for the Big 10. There's for sure 5 for the SEC, which means Texas is in the mix. But that's good news, because if Texas can't beat Georgia in that championship DNA, if they're 9-3 and they're able to somehow beat A&M, who's an undefeated A&M when they get to that game, because A&M will come back off their bye and play Missouri this week, which Missouri's down to their 3rd quarterback. So Mike Elko's team should be heavily favored in that game. If Texas could beat the undefeated, at that point, top 3 in the country Aggies, that might be the case they need to be one of the 5 SEC teams, even with a close loss to Georgia. But I think as we sit here on this Monday, with 2 weeks to talk about it, Texas has an opportunity to beat Georgia if they can play anything close to like they did for 3 quarters against Vanderbilt.
I definitely agree with that. The way that Arch was playing, obviously, getting your running backs back, and then I think having Michael Taft back, that was the one thing I noticed, especially in that 4th quarter. Although a lot of bad calls, secondary was kind of getting sliced and diced.
Well, remember, with that, not only was Michael Taft gone, Jelani McDonald was gone, and then during that quarter, Xavier Filsaime went out with a shoulder that keeps popping up on him. So they were down to
2nd and 3rd string guys.
3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, your first stringers and then your second stringer is Filsaime. He's out. And you're running, Jonah Williams, who's hardly played football out there. And, Derek Williams had a rough game, and that's when they blew a couple coverages against Diego Pavia.